Welcome to the progressive level reformer class using the foam roller today as the small apparatus. So Fran is going to be our body, and we've loaded her up actually with her leg and footwork spring, because we're going to flow from the warm-up all the way through into the leg and footwork laying on the foam roller. Then you'll see that Fran's got the smaller foam roller, which is appropriate for the reformer, so there's room for her shoulders as she does her roll-ups and pushing in and out with her leg and footwork. So if you've got the smaller one, that's more ideal. But we do have the bigger one, the one you would see more often as well, because we'll use it later on for a few other exercises. Now, along with preparing the springs, we have also prepared the foot bar at the right gear. So just note, if you've got it geared all the way in, if you're quite good at keeping neutral pelvis with a lot of deep hip flexion and knee flexion, you're probably always going to have it geared all the way in. But because we're on the foam roller, I've asked Fran to gear it out one more. Otherwise, it's very, very strong for the knee and that much knee flexion when she starts and then starts to go into pelvic curl. So just note that if you need to adjust your foot bar, please adjust it now. Grab your foam roller and lay it down on the reformer and put on 3 red or maybe 2.5. Okay, so starting on the foam roller, just start with your breathing and printing today. Pressing the arms down nice and strong, feeling the shoulder blades draping around the foam roller, lengthening out through the tail, and then take a picture of your spine and stretch it all the way down and out through the tailbone. Along with the spine, you're breathing into the lungs, ensuring that the ribs aren't too flared or tight at the back, where often they can hold tension. So breathing into the base of the lungs in the bottom of the lobes there to try and stretch out some of that area in the bottom of the ribs that can be tight for some people. And breathing in up into the top of the ribs and the top of the lungs where it can be tight through that pec area to open up through the collarbone. Let's start with an imprint. So inhale and prepare. And as you exhale, start to pivot at the greater trochanter to roll the pelvis under to give you a little stretch at the knee. And then exhale, roll through the lumbar flexion and back into neutral. And exhale, roll the pelvis up and a little lumbar flexion. And then through and back to neutral. Keep that going. You want to make sure that as you start this warm up that you're trying to be softer through the outside borders of your legs and warm up that energy through the inside borders of the legs and the back of the legs where it's harder to naturally connect. Good, so starting to think about making sure that you're being relevant with how much tension you are putting into your body. All we're doing is doing a little imprint laying on a foam roller. So we can be softer in the legs than perhaps than if you're hanging off a cliff. Good, and then let's roll all the way up into our pelvic curl now. So you do press through the heels, but pull through with your pelvis towards your heels so your carriage doesn't get pushed away. And then press down through the arms, stretch out through the head and roll the spine through. And the beautiful thing about being on the foam roller is it really does help to ground through the ribs and that kind of thoracolumbar junction area where some people can flare a lot. So as you can see here, Fran's got this lovely length through the neck, and then as she comes down, she can really feel the little bit of flexion happening at that area that's quite difficult because of where the placement of the head is. It's not as low, so it helps to bring that rib cage down. So it's quite nice. If you haven't tried this before and you're naturally quite flared there, you should try this because it might help to release some of that tension that you hold. Good, nice work through the legs there, Fran. Keep feeling like you can press through the big toe pad of your feet on both your feet, but keeping that roll through the legs. Good, one more time here, stretching through the fingers and feeling like the bones in the arms are dropping downward to the floors. Good, last time. Rolling all the way back up for me. As you hold at the top here, could you stretch your knees and your shins into my hands? And could you pull your sit bones up? That's it. Then can you start to rotate your pelvis from the side of your hip here feeling like, of course, you're rotating the spine, but to help you, like if there was a pole that went through the junction at the hip, you're turning it as if you're turning a steering wheel. Good. 3. Keep drawing the hips towards your ribs and the sit bones to the knees and keeping those knees nice and still. And 2. And last one, make sure you're even. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, stretch that spine through. Reach through the sides of the waist to keep the length even at the front and at the back of the trunk, and lay that tail down. Here we go. Take your hands around and behind your head. Little challenge now to balance. Well, let's see how we go. Inhale, we prepare. The first few will be wobbly, and exhale, roll over. Good. So I like to just let my group of people, as they start, to just have their moment to figure out what they need to do in their first few reps. Let the body do its thing, read itself, and know what to do. And then after a few reps, I like to try and give some correction. So for this exercise, Fran, I want you to feel like your body gets heavy down, and then you'd more look down towards your chest bone before you come up too high. So look down, down, yes, good. So she gets more of a bend in the higher part of her kind of neckline, shoulder area, and also more of a bend in the lower part through that lumbar, rather than just dropping through the easy part of the thoracic to flex through. Yeah. And what that will do is it make her feel like more a part of the foam roller as a piece of equipment. She will feel like she's grounding down, she's stretching down into it, and then it's just the head looking down through the body and past the pelvis. 2 more. Good. So she's inhaling as she comes down now, and exhaling as she looks down through the t-shirt into that pubic bone. Good. Creating a lovely flexion into that lumbar. Last one, and we're going to hold it up into your hula. Exhale and rotate over to that left inside thigh muscle. Come back through the center. And the same with this. I don't want her lifting too high up in the air. I want her to feel grounded through that lumbar area and through that rib cage. And it's the turn that happens at the neck and the armpit and that upper part of that collarbone area where you have the most rotation available to the body that you want to think about turning from. It will ground you more, and you're still looking around and down as you come back through the center. Beautiful. Stretching both your hips forward towards the heels. How does that feel, Fran? Really hard. Nice and juicy. Last one to the right, because we started off to the left. Good, and then slowly roll your body down. Okay, here we go. Spine twist supine. So if you feel comfortable, you can take hold of the poles behind you, and then maybe not, and then pull them hard apart. But if you don't feel that comfortable, then you can have your arms down beside you, and it's a bit of just a play to figure out what's best for you. Good. So I'm going to get you to bring your knees towards the foot bar just a tad. But be careful that back doesn't up. So see if you can drop those ribs by pulling the sit bones up to the knees instead. That's grand. Good, I'm going to let go now, Fran, because I don't want her to fall off. And she's going to inhale, rotate, and exhale, come back to the center. Good, so just be aware when you're correcting your clients, when they're on the roller, you have to be very soft with your hands on. Otherwise, it will push them off, okay? So I'm just giving a very gentle heaviness through here. And I want you to think more about breathing into the back of the ribs, Fran, than actually rotating. So breathe into the back of the ribs and just hold, and exhale, drop the ribs down and hold. Now breathe into the back of the ribs and try and spine twist. Don't worry about the legs moving, and then back to the center. Breathing in. Yes, that's better, and back to the center. So inhale, kick the ribs down and feel like you could turn the spine in that lower part, and it's invisible Pilates, right? You can feel it, and the ribs will drop, And I like to envision one of those like butterfly nuts that kind of you can turn around the screw. And I'm thinking about each little turn gets further and further down. Yeah, and I can feel it more than you guys can see it if I was doing it. Good. How does that help, Fran?
Good.
Yeah. And then it really kind of brings on the tummy and stops that arching and that gripping. But it is a very challenging exercise doing this exercise on the foam roller, even if you're not on the reformer, even more when you're on the reformer. Great, so let's just go sliding into double leg and footwork now. So heels on and parallel. Okay, how are we feeling?
Good.
Okay, inhale, prepare, and exhale, press away. Beautiful. Good, so as she comes in and out, I want to have a look and see that alignment. And great, I can see that the right leg is very parallel and the knee is pretty much in the exact right position until she fully extends. So think about abducting that knee as you extend there, Fran. That's grand. On the right leg, I'm focusing at the moment. Yeah, good. So keep that connection around the back of the right hip because that's what it's done. It's turned on that external rotator and it's helped to connect and ground the back of the right leg. And then as she moves here, I can see that left leg starting to behave a little bit more. So I don't want to get too confused with do this, and this. I want to try and think about what can I do to ground that right leg and get it down, and then give that left side a bit of an opportunity to catch up. Good. And then you can keep thinking about as you push away, now the right leg's doing a lot, Fran, that you push into your left heel before you come back in. Yes, and maintain that. Yes, so the stretch on the left leg is really necessary, but holding the hip to the tummy is important. Good. So stretching that left leg away, but keeping the hip up into the left side of the waist. Great, and that's perfect for Fran. That's given her a great little correction. And then the left foot can now just go that little bit wider. Yeah, because just like me, Fran's a little weaker through that hip abductor and those hip extensors on the left, but she's a little tighter through the front of the right leg because it does a lot because the left side's a little weaker. And again, that's a common thing. Good, 2 more. Oh, she wants to change. Good, and then heels together. Good. So we're aiming for 8 to 10 reps here. So don't rush it. And making sure that you're working to kind of look for that alignment change so it can better ground you. And we can keep working to push in and out. I like to think about what's the spring doing as I push away and what's the spring doing as I come in. So as I push away, it gets stronger and stronger. And as I come in, it gets less and less. So I reduce the amount I push on the way in and I increase the amount of press that I press away. And then I recoil and I push out. Yeah, 2 more. Good, last time. Good, pull yourself in, lift your heels up and out into that wide position. And press. Good, so work on your internal rotation on that left leg there, Frank, because it's a little bit turned out versus the right. Good, that's it. Good, and you're always aiming to bend the knees so they're in line with that second toe. And as Fran pulls in, I want her to think about pulling the back of the feet towards the shin, but pressing the heel into the bar. She's very grounded through the body into the foam roller, and her shoulders are opening through that collarbone and stretching down strong onto the machine. Last one, pull yourself in, put your toes on, and press away, and then into our raises. Good. So your left foot can go a little higher there, Fran, as it's kind of more hanging on for dear life. So it's quite common for your clients to just hang their phalanges on and not put their metatarsals on. So Fran doesn't like having that because it's really hard for her to bend in the foot there at that metatarsal junction. So I'm going to try and get her to have as much grounding through the metatarsals as possible so she can stretch the toes, those phalanges, over the foot bar and then pull the heels under. And it should puff up the arch of the foot a little more. instead of just dropping the heels under. Good, and through. Good, and then work on that big hip abduction as the heel goes under on the left. So push through the heel from your sit bone. Yep, sit bone. Good. And then you go into knee flexion, right? So think sit bone up to the back of the knee, sit bone through to the back of the heel. That's it for 2 and 1, and pull yourself back in. And let's go straight into single heels. Progression. And pressing away. Good. And pull in. Good. So as you pull in, feel like you're pulling in to the back of your leg with your heel there, Fran, of that floated leg. I also like to pretend I've got a third leg. So there's one that's floating up and down. There's one that's pushing on the bar. And then, of course, the one that's pushing on the bar. Good. Last 2. Fran's doing her own reps. And last time. Good. And then pull back in. Good, and then change over. Good, and then just take your left foot a little wider. Good. So it's really easy for me to give these little tweaks to Fran as she goes along because I'm only teaching to Fran. But the reality is when you're teaching to a group, you'll be wandering around and you'll be offering information to all your clients as you walk around. You won't be there for every part of the movement, and that's totally fine as well. For 2 more. Keep reaching through that right hip there, Fran, as you push away so the right front of your hip doesn't grip to stretch the leg up. Oh, that's hard. Good, and then come all the way in. Lay your legs over on top of the foot bar. She's preparing herself because she's got to do a roll up. Breathe in, and on your breath out, press your legs down and roll your body over. Very well done. And then careful as you come off. I'll take it. Yep. Good, and then let's go a red and a blue, or you could just go for a red and a yellow. We're doing our hundreds. So now as Fran lays down, she'll feel this sense of amazing grounding through the back of her body and the spine. It should feel quite nice, does it? Yeah, it's really lovely. So if you've not tried it before, you'll feel really amazed with the sensation. So taking the legs to tabletop, the hands in the short straps. Good, and then Fran's in shoulder flexion here, right? So I want her to feel like she's uplifting from the triceps to stretch her elbows out for her and to give her a strong fist. Rather than stretching the elbow and the fist, yeah? So I want it to be from the uplift from the triceps in that shoulder flexion and then wide through the collarbone. And then the knees above the hips, good. And then finding that closure at the back of the legs from the sit bones. Breathe in, drop the ribs for Fran. Breathe out and curl over, look down your body. Good, inhale, come back for a few preparatories. And exhale, look down your body, good. So be careful that you don't lift your head and shoulders up too high because you push your ribs back too far, yeah? So making sure that you look down and then sequentially give yourself an even curl, holding and pumping. Good, and up we come and pump. 2, 3, 4, 5. Good, so as Fran's holding here, I want her to feel like she can couple the connection through the sides of the thighs to bring her inside thighs together a little more. Yeah, so if you can get this lovely connection around the back of the thighs, it will pull yourself together at the back without jamming your sacrum, and it will pull the inside thighs together as well without gripping the pubis. Good. If you need to, you could raise the legs higher if it feels straightful on your lower back and you can't pull the connection on. That's it. Or you could take it lower if it feels like a walk in the park. Good. Keep stretching back a little more there, Fran, to tumble over the pelvis. That's good. And that heavies the ribs, and then she can pump and breathe into the ribs. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going and coming down. Good. So we went for about 120. And then let's go for coordination. So up we come into our coordination there, Fran. This will feel easy. Open, close, and pull yourself in. Good. So press and push from the hips and curl your body over. Don't let your head beat the legs. So hips, legs stretch. Good. That's it. So making sure that you take a reasonable opening that you can manage with your stability. At first, when I first did it, I had to do them really small because I'm quite mobile, because I'm flexible. But now I'm building up to quite a large opening, but I'm not allowing my hips to slide around. Last two, hold them up. Let's progress. Open, close, bend, triceps, stay connected and contracted. Push. Good. Last one. Reach, uplift from those triceps and come all the way back in. Good. So put the straps down for me. Fran, lay your legs over and roll up. Good. Stay with the same spring load, so a red and a blue. Grab hold of the wider based foam roller now. So this is a little tricky to get into. So ask your clients to lay down and put the headrest down. And then they're going to need to put their bottom onto the foam roller first before they put their feet into the straps, yeah? So the pelvis for leg straps. Yes. Yeah, so put your bottom on. Yeah, good. And then one foot stays on the foot bar as you press away and put a foot in. And then the other. You want the foam roller, and it's easy to see on Fran, at the widest part of the hips. So if you just stay still there, Fran. So here is the widest part of Fran's hips. So really I want to make sure that it's down straight underneath that area, not underneath that sacrum and lower back that's high up here. She feels like the pelvis can kind of curl around the base of the foam roller here. That's right, so she's getting quite a strong stretch for the lower abdominals, so it's very demanding to keep that on as it feels like it stretches. Be very careful that your clients don't overwork the lower back to hold their shape. So keeping the foam roller more towards the edge at the widest part of the thighs is really important, so they can feel very grounded and then they don't overflex. Okay, so hands on the edge of the roller, pressing in strong. Feet are in your dorsiflexion and heels are pushing and toes are pushing against an imaginary platform. And little frog as she presses out on the exhale. Inhale, lower in something. Exhale, press that something away. So you can think about having a heavy platform that you're pushing up on a diagonal and down on a diagonal. Now, Fran's ability to come into hip flexion is nuts. So most people wouldn't get into this much deep hip flexion and maintain hip disassociation. They will flex and posteriorly tilt and lose their connection at the back of their hips, okay? So making sure that you think about that. So press the straps in with your feet and only come in as far as you can keep your thighs away from your trunk, yeah? So it's the back of the legs that have to work more to keep your legs away from your trunk, but come in as far as you physically can because it feels wonderful. Two more. Nice and long through the trunk. And last time, hold the legs out long. Take a moment to raise the legs up to 90 or nearest 90. Exhale, press down, circle around. Good. So she's maintaining this lovely length through the trunk at all times. So I like to kind of talk about the trunk is a cylinder and you're keeping it buoyant and the same the whole time, all the way around, 360 degrees. So keeping on breathing into the back of the ribs. Good, the sides there, inflating through the shoulder area. Last two, we'll just do the one direction and then hold down and away for your low openings. Inhale, open. Great. Exhale, close. So the carriage will move the whole time for this opening because it's the low ones, whereas the high ones, it stays still. So making sure, Fran, when you bring your legs around, it kind of comes around, that's right, and pushes through. So you're tracing a line, a half circle, and back. Be careful that the foot doesn't get raised or dropped. So looking at that right load to kind of anchor from underneath that right hip. That's great. Good. Last two. And last time. Hold the legs out. So we're going to do short spine here. It does feel quite different because the range that you get for the spinal flexion is less, but it's really good information to help to keep your understanding of how much you have to keep the trunk connected and the legs connected as you move through it. So for those who are quite mobile, this will give a lot of information. So bend your knees in now, ready to start. Exhale, press the legs away. Inhale, take the legs to 90 or as far over as you can. Then start to roll up when you need to. This bit's the hardest bit, holding the roller. Press the hands in firm as you bend. Good, and then roll the spine through and reach the pelvis to find the foam roller, not the bar, and then push out long. Good, Fran, good. So keep pressing the arms in and then curling up. Good. As she bends, she's going to lift her hips up to the ceiling and not lose that strength at the back of the legs. Good. Then she keeps it and she's going to roll away from her heels, laying the spine down, then pulls the heels from the back of the legs and presses out to exhale. Great. Good. She's coming up and over her head and keeping energy up so it doesn't plummet down into her neck. She's thinking of curling her spine, but not in one particular spot more than the other. Good, let's just do one more. That'll make 4 repetitions. Good, pressing those arms in. That's it. Keeping the connection through the upper back will help to slide the spine and sequentially drop it down. Yes, good, and pulling it through. So careful as you dismount. So 1 foot out of the strap first, just one. Put it on the pole, reach for the foot bar. That's it. And then the other one. And then roll your pelvis up and roll the foam roller away. Good. And then slowly roll yourself up and we're going to go into our knee stretch series. Knee stretch round and flat. 1.5 springs is usually recommended. Or if you need a 1 and a yellow, that's also good as well. So toes are under. Fran's practicing her toe sit to make sure she can get as much leverage back through the heels and heaviness through the pads of the feet there. And then she's going to reach her arms forward. Again, it's this uplift from underneath the tricep area here, rather than reaching the shoulder forward. Yep. So the shoulders stay in line with the line of the back, up, reach from the back, and then it's hover from here. So she's holding from there, and then curl, and we're going to keep curling through the neck, Fran, at that occipital, and just hover the head and do an angry turtle through that. Yes, good. Then press from the hips. Good, and pull. And pull. Good, so as she pulls in, it's common for people just to fall down through their pelvis and get pulled around. So press back into my hand, back and up. That's right, back and up. Good. And then instead of pressing back as the legs go back through here, I want you to press back through here. So back through my hand, back through my upper hand. So actually what I'm doing here is I'm pressing when I want her to press into my hand, into her body. So now it's the hand near the sacrum, now it's the hand near the thigh. Thigh, sacrum. Thigh, she's done. Sacrum, hold, flatten back. Good. So we do the flat back version. And just be careful there, Fran, we're a little bit overly flexed here. So let's just take a little moment to find, yeah. Good, and if she carried on in that position, she would have gripped, yeah, which wouldn't have been very nice for her upper back. So we just soften that off. Good, and then she's perfect to go now. Great. Good, and just keep on working on breathing and puffing into this so you're not overly working through that lumbar. And the inside thigh muscles will help people to come out of the lumbar into the tummy and into the back of the legs. So keep thinking about pulling up through the inside of your legs as you pull your knees up into your armpits there, Fran. Keep pulling the ASIS up. That's better. And up. That's good. Watch out as you push away. And 2. And 1. Good. And hold in into our down stretch. transition this. You okay with that spring load, do you think?
Yeah.
Yep, great. So she's sticking with the 1.5. Beautiful. So did you see that? She went from back and over into our down stretch. So we don't need to stop. We can flow straight into it. Working from picking up through here, magnetizing from there, and press away. Gorgeous. And pull up. Good. So as you push away, make sure again you're getting that external rotation and really uplift. That's it, Fran. Good, and that will pull her out of wanting to grind here. Yeah, and it will give her more of an uplift through those lats that are getting stretched but working. Good, and then push more from the back of the hips if you could there, Fran. I know that's a hard thing to do, pushing back through the heels for your last 2. Up, 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 up. Last one, and I'll show you a nice little cue here. Holding, breathing in, try and uplift your body so you could fly your arms off. Good, if you could. And there she does it. And then slowly bring your arms around. Beautiful job. Let's go straight into upstretch to an elephant. Ooh, energetic. Good, so again, you go back into that toe sit position. So you're really pushing into the metatarsals and pushing back through the heels here. And so Fran's got more tighter hamstrings. You wouldn't have expected to hear that, I know, because of the amount of hip flexion she can go into, but she does have that tendency to be more tight. So if you need to bend the knees off a little bit, you could there, Fran. So you could just get back even a tad. That's it, good. Hold that and then keep working through the arms from here a little bit more. That's nice, good. And then stretching through the neck, good. So up through here, but long through here, fantastic. And then up stretch 2, out into the full front support. And up stretch 2, not 3. That's it, but you could do 3 if you really were keen as mustard. Good, well, we'll stick with 2 to start. Good. Lovely. And then as you pull in, think sit bones down, hip bones up. Again, I can see that we're still working on getting that connection through the back of the legs for Fran today. So imagine there's something between your legs, if you could there, Fran, that you can magnetically catch onto. There, that's better. Good, so still keep uplifting from those triceps and drawing in from those inner thighs. That's it, and then she's come out of her lower back a lot more now. Hopefully that feels good, Fran.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. 2 more. Amazing. Your flexibility is improved heaps. Last one. Holding, lower the heels, and Fran's going to go into elephant. So she's just added a spring on for herself there. Lifting all 10 toes if you can. Good. So what happens here is people tend to grip from the hips a little bit. So making sure that you're getting that pull up through the pelvis. So feeling like it's hovering to the ceiling the whole time. Yeah, so as she pushes back, it doesn't come from here. It comes from here and up. And up. That's better. Yes, Fran. Now I'm just like, boom, it's come on. And she's getting a bit of relief there, actually. And I can feel her work her arms and legs more. And probably in different areas of her trunk it connects to. Good. 2 more. Last one. And then kneeling lunge. So often you'll just go for a red for this. But if someone felt a bit uneasy, then a red and a yellow is sometimes good, especially if they're a bigger person and they feel uncomfortable with balancing. They could go for a red and a yellow. It should give them a little bit more feedback. The lighter, the harder sometimes. Good, so pushing back. Good, so the aim of the game is to stretch the hip flexor of this leg that's behind. But the thing that goes wrong is that sometimes we kind of dump and slide into the front of the hip there. So you're still working on trying to get the heel back and drawing back through the back of the leg, like the bone in the back leg is trying to slide back towards the risers. And then the thigh at the front, you're in deep hip flexion here. So think about it turning around. So it really can go into that external rotation and then slide all the way back into the hip whilst Fran gets the uplift through the chest. And then as she stretches away, she lengthens through the front of the leg here. Good. Push a little bit further back through that back leg if you have the ability there, Fran. That's it. I know that's strong on her hamstring, but if she could be more active here, it would support the stretch a little more for her. Good. 2 big breaths. Good. You could take this knee a teeny bit wider. That's it. And then push that hip more forward. Let the carriage push back into your shoulder, into your foot. Yeah, to give you more information to suck the leg up into the body. And then pull yourself in. So we're kind of looking for anywhere between 3 to 5 breaths in those positions to really get the stretch. The stretch is active because you're working against the resistance of the spring. So you're pushing against that carriage, even though it's static, so you don't end up just sitting and hanging there. On this side, it's a little trickier for Fran. So Fran likes to sit into that right hip as we've talked about before. So see how you go, Fran. If you could slide your energy over into that left side, I know that makes it quite strong. And then turn this thigh as you open that knee into more external rotation. If you could push back a little bit more, Fran, it will give you more space. Yeah, good. And then keep lifting that side up. Good. And turning this hip all the way around. Good. So this side is a little bit off center. So I would bring the carriage in, but keep your front leg exactly where it is. Keep bringing the carriage back in a little bit more, Fran. There. Good. Now she's square. So instead of trying to adjust this front leg, instead we need to bring the carriage in to kind of plug this leg back in, so then she can come into more of a aligned position in that left hip. 1 more breath. Wonderful. Short box series now. So take hold of the short box, place it short ways, and let's put on all the springs so the carriage doesn't move around for this. I'm happy for the foot bar to stay up for the moment. So we're going to put all those springs on and then sit on the front of the box for your genie position. So in this position, we make sure that we have our dorsiflexion and then a little bit of abduction into the long strap at the end. So you go into your genie and you hug it into the ribs. And the beautiful thing about this is you get this lovely kind of feedback from the arms that are pushing in, and then you can press back into the arms and work from the back of the shoulders here. And then as she genies back, she exhales, she turns at the hip, and then sequentially curls back through the upper body. Good, and exhale, curl up. So if someone was finding it hard to get the sequencing and the ordering of this movement, which can happen, then you could ask them to turn at the hip and then curl over with the head, all at the same time as they start to pivot back, so they can really get that rounded feeling. That's it. Beautiful. And then you restack on the inhale, and then you exhale, you roll, and then you lift up. That's it. And you pull through. Beautiful. You go back as far as you can go with your strength, and then you tumble over the hips without moving them for as long as you can. And then you inhale and finish the head lift. Exhale and roll back, sit bones to knees, inside thighs pulling up. Inhale, hold, exhale, roll all the way over. Good, inhale, stack. Good, last one, and exhale, roll back. Good, find that inner thigh on that right leg, Fran, to help you. Good, and then back into the flat. Good, so again, we want this uplift underneath this kind of armpit tricep area here. That's it. And then that really heavies the head back into the hand for Fran. So you can see she's got this beautiful alignment, head, ribs, pelvis, all in one line. She's going to exhale to prepare, and then inhale, pivot at the hip to lift back. Exhale. In. Good. So making sure that you're still thinking about holding something imaginary between the legs, because this will really help her, again, not grip in her lower back. Yeah, so you want that lovely pathway from the inside of the thighs to draw up through that tummy area. Good. Fran. Keep uplifting on that right arm to help you uplift through there too. 2 more. Last one. Good, let's go for our tilt. Inhale to tilt, exhale to come back. Good. And again, to stop your client or your person or even yourself from hanging out into this tighter area, what I like to do with my body is I like to think that I first stretch both sides of my waist forward in a diagonal, then I know I'm going to get her to do it. And then try and flex and I'll hold you down there. Good, I won't let go of you. So both sides of the body up and then over. Yeah, so you're really pouring. So you pour and then tilt. So see if you can get more of a straight trunk as you go over. The right's fine, Farhan. It's perfect that way. Good, my same. So stretch this up. Good, hang on, stop. Yep, that way. Good, yes. Ooh, so good. One more. So it actually kind of feels like you're going that way in a little bit of flexion, okay? And it's just to stop her falling into that area that she likes to tighten up so she can get more out of that connection. So now she should be ready to twist, right? Let's hope so. So we're twisting and then tilting back. Good. And again, you're twisting and rotating in the direction that you're going in, yeah? So be careful that you don't just go straight back there, Fran. Twist and rotate to me. Beautiful. Good. Twist and rotate to that left side that your body doesn't like to go to. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Good. And again, remember, you've got the most rotation available through that shoulder and that neck area. So you're going to feel it more from there. But allow yourself one more time to the left to rotate a little more, Fran, I think. Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, yeah. And then you'll get it more deeper down in those kind of internal obliques as well as those external. I just think that's a round of applause right there. Let's go to chest expansion. So the box comes off now. I like a 1 spring for the chest expansion. So to see how strong you are through your neck and shoulders and arms, I think probably a 1 spring is pretty generic for most people. But if someone's still learning this position, they may need a blue. Yep. So instead of regressing them and putting their knees up against the shoulder rest, let's teach them their hip extensor control in this back position and load them down instead. So taking hold of the short straps, really working through those hip extensors through the sides of the hips. So it feels like you're at the front of the knee rather than back on your shins, and then the shins are pushing down. Then exhale and press. We're doing a chest expansion, so inhale and press, and then look, and then exhale, go forward. Inhale. Good. So as Fran pushes forward and back, she's constantly closing off the gap between the front of the feet and the carriage. So she's drawing the front of the feet onto the edge of the carriage here and pressing her heels back. The shins are pushing down and her hips could go forward more. So she could come out of her back, but feel like you could flex more from the base of your ribs down there, Fran. Good. And now she's forced to work her shoulder extensors. Yeah. Good. That's it. Now, I know she's got good shoulder extensors, so push back, find flexion, internally rotate those arms there, Fran. Ugh. Good. And arms, one more, because she's just really getting the juice out of it now. Good. A little flexion, internally rotate those arms. That's it. Retract the shoulders a little. Good. Another round of applause. Let's do skating prep. Stick with the same spring. We'll put the foot bar down, of course. Let's place one foot on the platform first, and then the other foot on the movable carriage. Good. So really, you can see, friends, we've done a really good job at going into parallel here. I want the blades edge of the foot wrapping around, and then a heaviness through the big toe knuckle. Good. And then a little bend and all the load shifting over onto that platform foot. And then exhale, press. Good. So as Fran goes to push away, she really want to push us from here only. So I'm going to get her to roll her thigh in a little bit, but push her knee out. So thigh at the top rolls in, knee pushes out. Good. So that's helped with that. But I still need to get it into the back of her legs a little more. So yeah, shift the goodness backwards. Yeah, so shift the load back there, Fran. Good, try and feel like the energy drops down into the heels. That's it, and it's getting there. We don't need to interrupt the work of the leg too much. Still trying to work on those inside thigh muscles to keep out of the tightness in the lower back, and still trying to feel like your chest lifting so you can really get, oh, there you go. Bing bong, she just came on. There it is. She feels the glute medius really helping to keep a nice buoyancy and not too much tension through the sacrum now. Last two, that's probably about 8 reps, I think. Great. And then careful as you dismount. So you can either step back or step forward, and then you walk around. And then foot on the platform, foot on the carriage, little bend in the knees, hands on the hips, load over to the platform leg, and abduct and in, and abduct and in. The hip hinge is at that greater trochanter there, so we want to abduct, not by turning out at the top of the leg and keeping the bottom of the leg parallel, by keeping it all parallel, which is tricky. So you push down and slide out, but careful the body doesn't move with the sliding leg. Push down and slide out with the sliding leg, push down and slide away with the body, yeah? Down and slide out with the sliding leg, down and slide away with the whole body onto that platform foot. And good with backing up your load here, Fran, well done, for 2. Good. Tricky on the way in, it just wants to pull in, so she's gonna resist. There it is, and that was your last one, good job. Let's go to side reach, well that's rather generous. Let's do it with rotation, I think. Good, so 1 red string again for flow, beautiful, we can stick with that. Let's do a Z sit position. If that was tricky, then you're happy to just cross the legs. Okay, so one hand on the foot bone, just in front of the shoulder for scaption, and then the other hand either on the knee or out on the head rest or shoulder rest, because I like to start off nice and long. And then inhale, you tip and tumble over on the exhale. Good, then coming back, pull yourself in, beautiful, and stretch again. So again, I'm just looking to make sure that Fran doesn't go into that extension in her back. She's doing a pretty good job at keeping that energy back with her trunk, and then leaning towards the direction that you're tumbling in, yeah? Because the most common thing that can happen sometimes is that you push into your hand and you shunt through the ribs, and then it makes you feel like you're flexing the spine, but instead you're just kind of shifting the ribs around and shunting into the shoulder. So you lean your body towards the hand and stretch and push into the hand, and then tumble the body over as you wave the arm. Let's rotate. So turn and rotate. Good. Let's hold the rotation after 3. Good. Keeping a nice steady hip. Nice job. And see if you can rotate from the waistline there, Fran, as you hold now. That's it, rather than just pulling that shoulder around. See if you can find it from the front body as much as you're getting it from the back body and the shoulders. That's joy. 2 more, really widen and lift those elbows. Good, so it feels like that shoulder press feeling. Good job. Open. Good. Out to a T and then come back in. Yay. All right, let's change sides. So good little view here. You can see all the muscles in Fran's back working now. So taking yourself into your position with your arms, stretch them out and tip yourself over in the direction that you're going to. Exhale, tumble over. Good. So the head is always a thing. So I'll go to the head side of her and making sure that we don't let the head go forward as we bend it. Yeah, so you can think about bending at the ear a bit. Look. So she's doing a good job as she comes over. She's bringing her trunk towards me, and then she continues to bend and just bring this around there, Fran, to push from here again. That's it. Good. And then over. So different. One side will rotate you more. One side you'll probably stay perfectly aligned and between your imaginary two planes of glass. So you could say that to your clients, I want you to stay between your two planes of glass. On this side, guys, I can see your head crushing through the front of the plane of glass. Keep it back. That's it. Careful you don't rotate through the ribs just to wave your arm further. And then now be careful that we don't rotate from here. I want you to wrap from the front there, Fran. Good. And then back. And then uplift from the underneath waist. Good. So I want her to find the length on that left side because we've already discussed that was shorter, right? And she's going to have a tendency to push out through that right side because there's more ability to do that. Beautiful, Fran. She's correcting it as she goes. It should feel healing. And then hold the hand, bend, and press. So uplift. Good. That's it. Pushing with the side of the little finger side of the hand. That's it. Keeping those triceps working. Last one. And then careful as you come out of the rotation. Let's get the box and put it long ways. We're going to go straight into pulling straps 1 and 2. Again, a red spring is fine, but the foot bar needs to go down now. So when you're laying on the box, just careful as you come over and onto it. And most of the ribs, except just the chest, is off the edge there. And you do take your hands up reasonably far up the straps. The further you go up the ropes, the harder the exercise will be. Okay. So again, I want her to start to prepare. I don't want her to hang out in her very flexible elbows here. Otherwise, she'll kind of pull from her upper traps and neck a little bit too much. So the upper traps, I want them working, not the upper traps, the triceps to lift those arms up into that shoulder flexion and then stretch all the way through into the fist there and give the neck a bit of a stretch in flexion. Pressing the legs down on the box really heavy, helping by pushing the sit bones down into those legs so they feel like they're going down a hill. Inhale, prepare, and exhale, start to hover the back of the head before you overwork those extensors in the back. Good. So down through the legs, hover the head, then move through the arms. Good. So the motor sequencing can be confusing for some people if they're more of a back bender. And then if they're not a back bender, then they're usually pretty smooth at this one. So I like to overly extend, and I have to have cues of straighten and lengthen, and then that helps me to get my shoulder extensors on. But then there's some people like Fran that don't overly extend through the spine, and you can see they get this amazing torpedo line, and then just usually I find with Fran just a bit of a correction in the neck actually, but everything else is pretty good. Sit bones down into the legs, reaching those arms back. Now remember, the further back your arms go, the further back into extension they go, and so then the more your humerus will internally rotate. And don't forget to just give a gentle retraction if you go quite far back. Your last one there, Fran, of those shoulders. That's good. And then let's straighten down into the straps with the hands. Number 2. So into those lovely flies. Good. Think of uplifting from those external rotators of the arms. That's it. So turn that humerus out. Good. And really push those shoulder blades around from the back like there's angel wings, reaching your feathers out. So if you put out those angel wings, that helped her. So it's a nice broad stretch just before you're going to fly off if you're a bird. Last 2. Lower the chest just a little bit so you don't lean into that lumbar too much. Last one. That was great. And then slowly come down and relax with a rest pose just for a few breaths, just to get your composure. And then we're going to go straight into our backstroke. So take a couple of deep breaths in and out here. Good. Stretching the spine down into the neck and down into the pelvis. And careful as you roll your body up. The same spring is perfectly fine. Some people like it a little heavier. So, Fran, what are you going to choose?
Yeah, I'm going to go red and blue.
A red and a blue. Yeah. So she's going to lay on her back in the supine position, ready for her backstroke. So this is our challenge today. Taking hold of the short straps. And she's got a lot of support through her shoulder there from the box. So she's not too far off the back of the box. She's going to inhale, extend the arms and legs up and out and through, and exhale, pull herself back, fists coming to the forehead. Inhale, exhale, really pull it in, yeah? So up, use those inner thighs, reach as if she could roll up into the teaser there. Yeah, last 2, and that would give you 6. Just FYI, that's a lot. And then pull yourself in. Last one there, Fran. Ooh. Yeah, you got it. Good. And then careful as you pull yourself in. And then she can go into that lovely stretched out position. Good. And I'll take the straps for her as she careful as she comes up. So let's take the box off and put the foam roller back on. So yeah, we can use this foam roller today. We are actually going to keep the foot bar down so Fran can leave her feet on the platform. And just to cool down and release, we're going to do a chest stretch here. So taking a couple of deep breaths in and out and just making sure that you're feeling like you're getting that external rotation through the arms, that uplift through the rib cage, and that downward slope. Yeah, so she's not overly extending there. Really breathing into the back of the ribs. Good. Last 2. Careful your clients don't just hang in their position there, so they do have to use the triceps to hold their arms in the shape. And then you can change the shape where they bring their elbows back behind them and they get a bit of a strong pec minor stretch usually in this position. Do you get a stretch there, Fran?
A lot.
No. She's good in this shape. Good. And also the shoulder rests a little bit in the way. Good. You can stretch your arms out long to make it, oh, she feels that, to make it a little bit stronger. Good. And then just keep bringing the sternum up towards your throat a little bit, but then dropping down through the xiphoid process. So think about that, lifting up, that's better, good. Otherwise what I saw was this part of the chest in the middle looked like it was getting kind of ripped apart a little bit. It was too intense. So just consolidate that area a little bit. And then careful as you dismount. Let's stand up for a standing roll down here. Good, so take a deep breath in through the nose, feet underneath the hips, and then on your exhale, slowly start to tumble up and over yourself, letting the pelvis lift high to let the head go low. That's it, so the pelvis lifts up to tumble the body forward, and then it should be strong and on as she rolls back up. If you make that conscious effort to really energetically kind of tip the seesaw at the point when you need to, it should bring on the back of the legs a lot more and stop you from just hanging out in the sacrum. So really lift this end of the pelvis up to the ceiling. Very nice, Fran. Keeping the connection through the back of the legs. Turn at the hip at that greater trochanter to bring the body all the way up. Breathe in, let's hover the heels and raise the arms. That's it, and exhale and lower. As you raise the heel, the whole body gently shifts forward to keep the connection through the inside thighs. Good, last one. The whole body will just gently shift forward slightly in space. Good, and lower. And there's your foam roller progressive class on the reformer.